Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast, your top automotive refinishing podcast with your hosts, Corey Kleinfeld
and Ryan Brewer. Enjoy the show, guys.
Welcome back to the Masters of Recon podcast. Today on the podcast, we have a special guest named Dave Beute. He actually started paintless dent repair back in 2000 and is also in the Windsor-Chatham area, near the guest we had on last month, near Pete. He's from that area. He started in PDR 2000 and started Restore FX in 2020, the same time Pete did. So right before the world changed. Welcome to the show, Dave. What's going on?
Thanks for having me, guys. And I'll just also say thanks for putting on this podcast. I definitely have gotten some really valuable information, even your last one with the damage adjuster a couple of weeks ago. Just fantastic stuff. So I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah,
Nice.
that was a cool one, especially if you're in PDR. And for those I had a podcast before. We have 120 episodes. There's value in each one of those episodes. So I'd encourage everybody to go back and listen to the interviews and learn some stuff from them. But Dave, why start PDR in 2000? How'd that go?
Oh man, that's a long story, but the short version is I had a guy that did this in Michigan and became friends. He approached me about training. A lot of obstacles came in the way, but ended up with his brother-in-law. He and I, the brother-in-law trained me, and we worked together for a couple of years, and then I went out on my own. But it was all just happenstance, really. Just I was working at a factory, and this opportunity came up, and it was just really interesting to me. Being a car guy, it was just wild. I'd never heard or seen anything like it, and was pretty mesmerized with the whole process. One led to another, and the partnership that we had dissolved eventually, unfortunately. But I've done my own thing probably since about 2003, I guess, was when we went our separate ways. But it's just been kind of an ongoing adventure since then.
Yeah. And that's the way a lot of guys started. Actually, Ryan, I don't know if I remember off the top of your head, Ryan, did you start working for somebody too, or did you just start straight PDR?
No, I was working for a guy who owned a dent works out of New Orleans.
That's right.
But I painted cars for him. The guy, he wanted to charge me $260,000 to teach me how to do paintless dent repair at 18. At 18
Wow.
years old, I was like, dude, I don't even know how. That's a lot of money,
Man,
So I just
260.
didn't do it. 260,
Sure.
and then I had to sign a non-compete and all this stuff, and never worked out.
Fascinating.
He's regretting it now, though. I can tell you that.
Almost everybody has some sort of a crazy about, how sideways on them at the beginning, and you kind of had to find your own way or whatever too. It's like rarely, maybe Corey, you started with your dad, so obviously he's not going to work you over, but there's always a lot of times there is that one just wacky backstory it's not even worth talking about, but
Yeah, I mean, I watched my dad go through it all. He was one of the original PDR guys in general. He was in late 90, early 91, one of the original 6 franchises for Dent Pro back in the day. So there was not even anybody else to work for. I guess he went to work for one of the guys that he could, which is basically getting the franchise. But there was no training. He told me the training he had was some guy came out from Florida. Is probably a descendant of a dent wizard, or what's the Godfather PDR's name? Escaping me off the top. Leto, probably a descendant of Leto to some extent. Came out because Dent Pro got a hold of them. Came out and basically he could have just, I guess you couldn't text back then. He could have sent them a letter that said, get a metal rod on the back of the dent and push on it. That's pretty much what he showed him, with a white PVC pipe, or basically like a piece of like white plastic in a wooden stand that you couldn't turn any angles. It just was sat straight up. I mean, when I learned PDR in 2003 and 4, that's pretty much what I used. And so that was like 13 years of progress after my dad started. I mean, you started with that stuff too, right?
I started with fluorescent. I had fluorescent light, and I had a wooden stand that we built out of 4x4s.
Yeah.
So
I started with fluorescents.
Yeah.
I was fluorescents too, but I
don't think I ever did that. Never.
Mine's kind of embarrassing. Like after being trained, I was probably, I don't know, a good 7 years before anybody taught me about cross-checking, and like that just changed my world. Like I didn't hear or know, and like that was a big thing.
Yeah, the theory behind it. Yeah, like you can literally not see a dent if you're fully perpendicular to the light, not even turn it the other way. You didn't even know it was there, and now it's like a whole other dent. Yeah, that's funny. It's like one of those little things. 7 years in, someone's like, "Oh, have you ever looked at it the other direction?" And you're like, "No."
That's
not a little thing. Like that was a game changer.
Huge.
That was huge. Jesus.
Oh my gosh. I'm curious. This is super random. We're going to talk a little PDR first because we can. Do you work inverted or upside down?
No, I don't.
No.
Do you?
I'm curious.
That's hard. It's really hard.
I do. Yeah. Everybody pretty much that worked for Denpro and Dent Wizard back in the day worked inverted. Yeah.
I've tried it
to this day.
I've tried it, and it's not like it's something I think you have to really like. For
you gotta
me,
be dyslexic.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Well, then I'd probably be okay.
Yeah, I actually spent a long time putting together a whole video series on how to work inverted and why, and interviewed my chiropractor and all that stuff, and I never released it. I'm sitting on all this footage I have to put together to put out there. I don't know if I'd charge for it or make it free or whatever, but like I think it's just makes such a big difference in how you can work dents, but we won't get too deep into that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change my whole technique 20-something years in.
Well, come on, man. Never know. It's never too late to learn something new. Just like the last podcast, we learned the diminished value thing and stuff. I mean, honestly, I was actually thinking about that the other day and how the diminished value in paintless dent repair versus, repainting a car. And I think it's interesting with the Restore FX too. I wonder if there's, that's like, it's like even niche of a niche. Like if there's repainting cars is bad. That's just what it comes down to. Like we have paintless dent repair for a reason, and the Restore FX being paintless clear coat repair. It's just so much better for a vehicle. And I mean, when you think about it, it gets exciting, but then it's like, man, how do you tell people that it exists? Same thing with PDR. You've been dealing with it for 22 years or whatever, 23 years. Like still nobody knows. It's wild.
But it was the same thing for windshield. Dude, a manager from a dealership just called me up earlier today, and he was like, "Man, I've been listening to all your podcasts." And he started talking about he owned a windshield company back in the day doing repairs, and he's like trying to figure out another way. Obviously, back in the day, he said that insurance companies didn't know what or even that was capable of happening was to repair a rock chip in a windshield. So it kind of got in with the insurance companies and then got watered down, obviously, like everything else. But they were able to do it, so it's just like one of those things where we need to figure out how to get it. He was like, man, you need to contact the pioneers of the windshield, how they got in with the insurance companies and use that for PDR and Restore FX. I was like, well, you get me those guys contacts and we'll definitely reach out.
Yeah, well, I talked to Billy and I played phone tag with him a little bit, but I'm getting in touch with people that run organizations like CIC. I'm talking to the girl. I think her name is Jordan off the top of my head. I'm terrible with names, but I think it's Jordan. And the people in the head of collision of some manufacturers and stuff, like those are the type of people that I want to bring on the podcast and talk to about this type of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. You say just the sentence to dent guys like get in with insurance companies. 50% of them are going to say "fuck you guys." Like honestly,
there's a right way to do it. There's a wrong way to do it. You know, like
there's
one of those things.
Yeah. Are you doing insurance claims, Dave? More that you have?
I lately no, but I have. You know, it's not something that I chase. Like my business is primarily I service a pretty good network of dealers, and then I do a fair amount of retail as well, but I really don't push it. Just after being in this trade for this long in an area that we're in, I have very little competition. So short of the partner that I mentioned to you, we kind of capture everything. So retail just comes. You don't even have to really market or try and attain it. But just to touch on that whole insurance thing, I don't have a lot of details. I'm interested to talk a little bit more with them, but there is a big Canadian dent company that has prospered working with body shops and doing glue pull push to paint, basically, or pull to paint. And they're salvaging and saving a lot of panels. And he's actually, I do mean to follow up with him and find out exactly what that model looks like. But he's saying that they're actually really getting a lot of traction and forward movement with that. And I'm curious to know how do you price half-assed? Like, I half-assed that dent out. What's the going rate for that? I'd like to know. Like, I feel like that would be difficult as a technician.
Well, it's half-assed to us, but it's like what they need, you know. That's what a body shop really needs.
It's body labor rates, I guess. Like how many hours would you get for that through insurance? 12? Cool, I'll do it for 12 times, $72 an hour or whatever you guys get up there, and there's your number, right? I mean, that's pretty much, you're saving body time, right? Sure. I guess that's what it comes down to.
I guess for me, sometimes I go back to, I'm a paintless dent repair technician that tries to repair to the highest level. And when I have people that'll persist, like I'll tell them flat out, like, your dent is beyond paintless dent repair. Well, how much, or can you just make it look better? And that's my common response is like, well, how would I go about trying to figure out what's fair for a price structure for like a partially repaired dent? Like, it's just not fair to you or me for us to push forward with this. And that's why it's hard for me to get my head around that type of work. But I'd entertain it all day long.
I'll tell you why. Just off the top of my head, I don't like that business model. Partially because I train for Kiko, and I can literally train a body guy in one day how to do I'd say 80% glue pulling on a repair. I mean, the guys in Canada and you and I can get it to 90 or 95 pretty quick, but I could train a body guy in literally one day how to get the shape of a panel back so that he could put mud on it in like 4 hours. So I don't know if that's a long-term business model, but maybe.
No, it's not something I would pursue. It was just interesting, and it kind of came up lately. And I've often, my recommendation to many body shops is to look into the Kiko system, just to time and materials, and and being able to salvage panels. I'm all for it. Like, I'm a guy, and I give them contacts and a lot of information. Like, it's not threatening to me in any way, shape, or form.
No. It's not threatening to us because we can do the last 10 or 20%. That's not threatening even a little bit. If my whole business model was 80% dent repair, it'd be pretty threatening, I guess. Right.
Like the guys you're talking about, Dave, that would kill their business. So yeah,
it could. It would take a long time. It'd take a long time, but it could. I mean, it's crazy though. Like with the insurance, like I did a almost $3,600, essentially a crease in a door, 22-inch crease, and another little bit of damage over here and on the door, all in one panel. Took the whole panel apart, glass out, door off the car on a stand, worked on it for a day. Came back the next morning, worked on a little more, put it all back together. And it's crazy that's the world. I mean, I grew up basically doing wholesale. That's all I did. It was like, how many $65 cars can I do in a day? Like, if I do 22 cars, that's all my numbers were. And now it's like, it's just weird to know that's, and this, they had a little bit of paint damage on their car on the edge where it kind of folded over, and the customers didn't want it painted. They were like, I don't want to paint my car. It's $120,000 Range Rover. Don't want to paint my car. So just get it as close as you possibly can. So that it's interesting that the world, that the industry it makes it exciting. It makes it exciting again. Honestly, to me, it made the whole thing exciting again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because really, wholesale is not exciting. Like it's good money. It's great
really,
money.
You
it's just
make a killer living.
Right. It's just not.
I still do wholesale, so I'm not gonna. Yeah, I still do it. I'll go knock out 20 cars in a day. I mean, it's nice. I listen to podcasts all day. No one's bugging me. But
you're 100% right, both of you, on the fact that wholesale is not exciting, and like there's no very little to like when in wholesale to up, if that's all you do to up your game, like what do you do? Like you got to set a new target. Like, okay, it's monetary. Like that's the only real targets you can chase. And like I like the idea of a challenge type dent now and then, but how do you incorporate that into a day when you got 5 dealerships that are expecting you to come there and make sure their inventory looks good? Like I end up in my shop here at night fixing the challenging dents, which takes me away from my family, but it's hard to say no to those, catch 22s.
Yep.
Are we frozen?
Internet? Yeah, Corey's frozen a little bit.
Okay, I can still hear you, but yeah, Corey's not moving.
So I guess the question we all want to hear is, so a guy who's been doing paintless dent repair for 20 years, right?
Right.
What has Restore FX done for you? It's a good one too, because you were mainly wholesale, a little bit of retail, and then you got into Restore FX. How do you like Restore FX, and what has it done for you in your business?
So I'm really happy with Restore FX. There was definitely some growing pains to get to a point where it's self-sufficient, if you will, as far as like I typically do not do any of the processing at all. I have 2 guys that work full-time. They process cars. And so what that allows me to do is maybe take my foot off the gas a little bit on how aggressive I am doing, which is, a little bit gratifying to know that there's another revenue stream obviously going on behind the scenes, which was really the attraction. Much like Pete mentioned, it was an exit strategy. There's that factor in the equation too, but for day to day, it was alleviating the fact that I'm the sole breadwinner for my family. So there was a lot of pressure to make sure that those
that
numbers
one arm,
were
dude,
achieved.
That one arm. Something happens to that arm, it's all over.
Funny you say that, because I tore my bicep last Monday night and I'm dealing with that. Thankfully, I can still work.
Yeah.
But it was like if you would have been here when it happened, the blood drained out of my face, and I'm like, I'm going to be unemployed. Like I'm not going to be able to do what I do.
Right.
So there's a lot of merit to that, and that's been on my mind. And I have insurance in place for disability, things like that.
Yeah.
Right. I have 4 children, and my wife's thankfully stays home with them. So it is exclusively on my shoulders to make sure that they're provided for.
100%. Yeah. So I mean, that's a huge theme. I mean, there's a lot of PDR guys that started in Restore FX, and I think it's a lot of that is that you don't have to do it. It's a scale, more of a scalable business than PDR is. Did you ever try to hire somebody in PDR, or was that never on the table for you?
No, I've gone down that road.
Okay.
It hasn't panned out. I trained my brother, and he got proficient and probably would have been very successful, and he just had something else that came across his plate, and he ended up going in that direction, probably regrettably on his part looking back.
Interesting.
And then one real individual that I took under my wing, and we went down that road, but he was a licensed body man / painter, and never would, he always had one foot still in the door of the body shop. And I was like, you got to cut your ties, and you got to commit to this exclusively. It's going to be a little painful for a while. If you're not really prepared to go through that, it's never going to work.
Right.
Path of least resistance, right? Like you're going to always go back to what you know, and it's guaranteed. And I think that transcends to Restore FX too. And I know Pete touched on that on the podcast before, and I can echo that. Undoubtedly, like if you're a dent repair guy and you have aspirations of getting involved in Restore FX, my first piece of advice to you is make sure that you have an individual prepared to work on Restore FX. And if you think that you're going to do Restore FX and dents, you're sadly mistaken. You're going to go back to fixing dents because that's easy. That's what you know, and that's where you generate revenue fast.
You make 4 times more per hour.
Right.
I mean, at least. Yeah.
There's no comparison. Like if I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt that if I didn't have, like, Mitchell has been with me since inception, and he's like, I can't put enough, I can't tell you how valuable he is to me, but if he wasn't in the equation, Restore FX would be a piece of paper that I own that is not being capitalized on.
Yeah.
I'd never do it.
Yeah. That's big, man, because I think we got quite a few people we know personally that have Restore FX as dent guys. And I think I wish we would have touched on that a long time ago, was because if you think you're going to do it, like you said, it's not going to happen. You're going to do it for a couple of weeks and then it's going to cut off.
Do you remember the first time we met, Ryan, on the phone?
Yeah.
Why I called you?
For Restore FX.
Yeah. And you remember what you told me?
Yeah, get somebody else. Don't do it yourself.
Yeah, you're like, number one thing, don't even sign up unless you have somebody that and it doesn't always work out. Obviously, you could get somebody and he could change his mind, or she could change their mind, or whatever, but don't even do it unless you have somebody. And so I did
it. I did that, and it just crippled my business for a short term. Luckily, I found a really good guy like pretty fast, so I was able to get out of that position quickly. But I mean, you can't bank on that. That's something that's very rare. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, Pete and I had conversations about that on our trip to Toronto, trying to just brainstorm on how you could make something like that work. And I can remember saying, I think what I'll do is I'll try and process a Restore FX car in the morning, and then I'll run out and start fixing dents at lunchtime.
It's not even worth it.
That never happened, not once.
No, you guys did a couple cars, right?
We did lots of cars, but that wasn't like, we started basically the day the world shut down was the day that we went to training. And like, if the timing would have been
anniversary, by the way, a couple days ago.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. March 13th, my parents' anniversary / the world getting fucked up anniversary.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, Ryan, we trained in Toronto with Ryan K, and like he had to kind of talk it over with his wife to see if they wanted to proceed with training. And he's like, we'll just do it. And we literally were holed up in our motel room at night. We couldn't even go to a restaurant to eat. Everything was closed. And 1 week, one way or the other, and we probably would have not pushed forward, not done it. Like, it was that close. But the beauty of it is we came home. Nobody wanted to see us at a dealership. They were closed. So we literally got the key box to the Volkswagen dealership for their pre-owned inventory. And the guy loved what we did so much that he just said, do all the cars and write me bills for them. So we probably did 40 cars for the Volkswagen store. Like, we did whatever cars we wanted to do. We just went and got them. I had the key box in the shop. And
that's awesome.
And so Pete and I processed one after another, and then Mitchell was just waiting. Like, he knew what was happening, and he even said, like, this is the kind of guy that I ended up with. Thankfully, he's like, well, I said, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Like, what's the world look like moving forward? I don't know what I can tell you. He's like, well, I'd really like to learn how to do this. I'll do it for free if you'd allow me to come over and do this with you.
Wow.
And I heard that, and like, I've known him, like, he's a young guy, but I've known the family and whatnot. And I'm like, I'm not going to ask you to do something for free. So I paid him, but he was in since inception, like day after training type thing. So
that's also
pretty
rare.
Fortunate.
That's awesome that you found that. That's really rare.
I get compliments on him endlessly from, like, he goes into the dealerships, and I've had a couple guys like, I hope you pay him well because I'm going to try and snipe him from you and things like that. And I also have,
awesome.
His brother. So I have brothers that process cars as a team. Well, you met them, Corey, right at MTE. You met my guys. They were with me there. Or he's gone again.
At least he's got a nice face frozen. I like it.
Little logo.
That's awesome though, man. It's I think that's real big too. If you can find guys like that kind of represent, like, you don't have to be the face of Restore Effects anymore. That really helps out a ton, because you're getting enough phone calls as a dent guy, a single dent guy owning his own company. I'm sure your phone rings off the hook all day. So whenever you have somebody that can go into a dealership, sell for you, and represent your company in a good way, that's invaluable to me.
Well, I think, Ryan, you made a really good point to me. One of the first times, I don't know if you remember, I reached out to you too and called you just out of the blue one day when I found out who you were.
Yeah.
And you said something that I'll never forget too, is like, it really doesn't matter who's processing these cars. Like, it's not like, sometimes as a dent repair guy, like it's a 70-30, 80-20, 50-50, however you want to divide it up, of you being Dave, the face of advanced dent removal, or Corey being Dent Pro. That's important to these people, these relationships that you build, and the quality of your work is obviously important too. But if you bring another guy into the fray as far as dent repair, it's not guaranteed that they're going to be happy with what he does. But you told me anybody can do Restore Effects and it's going to turn out like $1 million. They don't care who does it. If it looks like the way you say it's going to look, they're happy.
Right.
Yeah. And that was important to think about.
But still, I've learned that as well. Still getting the car. If you're not going to be the guy out there selling because you have other things on your plate, it's weird, man. The dealership world, it's like relationships sell. It's not like they know you have a good product. They know all these good things, but if they don't have a relationship with you, they're not going to give you the cars.
If they don't like you, if they don't like you,
right,
it just doesn't matter. I mean, it just doesn't matter how good you are.
Right.
I agree with that, but and what my point is you don't necessarily have to be processing the car. You need
right.
I think it's important that you are the face of your Restore FX location, and they know who you are and what you're the guy that's gonna hopefully solve a problem if there is one, or you know what I mean. Like, they have a go-to that they do have that confidence in that relationship with, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
How have you handled that? I basically have told I basically have one person still. We do one car every day. Sometimes we're doing 2 cars now a day. And I basically have told him I'm doing cold sales essentially, and he's doing warm sales. So I'm not expecting him to go into new dealerships to try to get work. I do that because I'm good at it and I know them and I'm the face. And then I get the first car and I bring it and we do the demo. And when the demo goes back, I show him and blah, blah. And then very quickly after that, he's the one, and he's with me the whole time when I'm doing this. And then very quickly after that, he's the one getting more cars. So they know I'm like, hey, this is Andrew. He manages all my Restore Effects. But is that how you do it, Dave? Or is your guy going into maybe even new places? Or if a new manager comes in, are you just like, you got this?
No, he does not
do the cold part.
So he doesn't do any cold calls. No, he doesn't even do a whole lot of warm calls, if you will. He's been so we typically process 3 cars a day. That's all my shop can accommodate. Actually, I just signed papers. I own the shop that we're in, but I leased a shop double the size that we're taking over April 15th. Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
That's
it's going to
awesome,
be.
Dude.
Congrats.
And we're on a major artery. We have a lot of exposure. So
you're keeping the other shop, so you have nine stalls or 9 spots?
No, my intention is to rent the other shop out. Actually, I just put it up for lease today.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
I don't want to have 2. My town's small. Like, we only have 50,000 people. Like, I'm not going to need 2 shops. But
gotcha.
I can't fix
you got 6 spots now.
I'll be able to house at least 8 to 9 cars in the shop that we're moving into.
Very cool.
And it's purpose built for automotive, so it's a perfect fit. And
you think you can get a good bit of Restore Effects with that low population that you have?
Well, we're doing 3 a day every day. We have been consistently for well over a year.
Any retail, or is that mostly wholesale?
Our retail picks up through the summer months. Like, I'm starting to get, I'm actually seeing messages come across my screen while we're talking from retail leads. And
love your video, by the way, man. I love that you're becoming because I have Cameron as my marketing guy, And I get people calling me all the time, man, I see your commercials, they're awesome. And I'll look at the ad and it's you. And I'm like, man,
Oh, really?
What a great job, dude.
Well,
So it works out perfect.
Actually, I'm kind of like Corey because I had another social media company make some videos for me before I got on the marketing campaign, and that one I did not release because I was embarrassed. I was like, I felt like I looked and sounded like an idiot. So it's been in the can for over a year. No kidding. And I gave it to
Cameron,
and I'm like, I don't know what you want to do with this. If you don't like it, you can throw it in the trash, do whatever. And he kind of made it into what it is. And I don't like it, but well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Sounds great. Dude, most of the time on video, and I've always been that way, it's just like you just don't love everything about yourself when you're on camera.
Yeah.
But dude, other people, I mean, you couldn't tell that you were nervous, or if you were, all that stuff, it just looked natural. It looked good.
Well, yeah, sure. I appreciate it. I still am embarrassed when I see it. I sound like gibberish to me, but
no, dude, it sounds great.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I heard you say right before we kept interrupting you with more questions because we heard like bigger shops, so we're like, oh, curious. But you said you can't even fix a dent out of your small shop right now, which is like gotta be a little bit annoying sometimes.
I joke with people because it's like I have air conditioning and heat in the shop. So my guys are in there. I'm out. I'm not even joking. It's like freezing cold. I'm out in the parking lot fixing a dent. And they're in this nice climate controlled environment. Like something doesn't add up.
Probably wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah, and you're out there like a heater.
They're adjusting the temperature by 1 degree because they're a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's funny. But so maybe not anymore, right? Maybe you get the Restore FX even up to 4 or 5, 4 cars a day with 2 people, maybe 5 cars a day, I guess, and then also fix a dent or 2.
Yeah.
Well, that's a luxury I'm looking forward to, is being able to pull. Like I'm really anchored to my van. Like it's set up, like all my tools are affixed to it. It's a pretty nice setup, but it's also a little bit crippling because if I need to work inside somewhere, that means either I'm running in and out to get all these different things, or I need 2 good sized spots. And not many shops really like to accommodate. Like it's a full size GMC Savannah. And then whatever it is I'm working on, like it's a pretty inconvenient scenario to try and play out, but this shop will easily accommodate that. So it's kind of
that's really cool.
It's looking good.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. How much is 3? So if you want to share numbers, because I like talking about numbers, Brian and I have shared numbers on our podcast about everything we did basically last year, full open book. 3 cars a day consistently per year is pretty good. It's pretty good Restore FX revenue. Do you have a handle on what it is? Gross,
last year we did sales of 310,000, I believe.
And that's
awesome. We processed, so that was year 2, right? We processed about a little over 600, maybe 610 cars, I think, or something in that nature. Some of that was panel work, some of it was ceramic coating. Like we've capitalized on the ClearFX program a little bit too. But a majority of it was exclusively Restore FX.
Yeah, like a massive percentage, like 90% of it or something. Probably.
I would say, yeah, probably.
Yeah. So that's a good company, 310,000, especially you being years. Yeah, I mean, especially you being a dent guy. I would say fairly successful dent guy. I don't know what you make.
You didn't process a single one of those cars, right?
I did not. No,
that's great. I mean, that's what we're looking at. That's what dent guys are looking for.
Yeah, you gonna open up like other locations, like have like 5 locations across Canada? You got aspirations for that, or you just?
I have another license for another city, an hour east of where I'm at, and it's a major city, and I'm in the so Mitchell, my lead guy, his wife is going to university in that town, and he's chomping at the bit to go and help me get started there. Our hang up right now is finding the location. We just can't get a spot. If I had a spot, we'd be open. Because alongside of the fact that he wants to go and I own the license, there's dealer networks that own shops in my town that are so happy with our product. Or like, just bring it to this other area and we'll happily start sending cars to you. Like we have work that we could be doing if we could find a spot, and just a location is our biggest our biggest obstacle right now, believe it or not.
Yeah, dude, I know, I believe it, because I think that's a problem everywhere. And I don't know what I don't know if I don't know. I think it's the nicer area. I think where shop or warehouse space seems to be limited in the areas where we want it to be. Because there's like big warehouse shop space, but it's all kind of like in my area, park. It's all out there. Yeah, it's all like far away, and it's all like big manufacturer stuff, and then smaller shops in between to help the manufacturer. But like finding stuff close by, it's very difficult. I don't know what it is about that, or it's our shop size. Like we want like, no more than like 4,000 square feet, really.
But then to try to put that on a main drag, it costs so much money in real estate. Yeah. It's not, you know what I mean? It's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
In my area, I have a completely different conflict. So the lease rate vacancy is 1%. Like all the places are rented, but when something becomes available, most of the like all I get is a property management company. I don't even talk to owners, but they've already put it pretty much in concrete that they do not want automotive repair in their shops at all, bar none. They don't even give me a chance to tell them that we're clean. My shop looks like an operating room, but they are so used to fly-by-night mechanics dumping cars and engines and coolant and oils and the environmental strain and all those things are.
And they're in the situation where they're so busy with people trying to rent their places that they can just be like, no cars. Yeah.
It's cut and dry. Like I can't even get a second of their time. They're just we don't do automotive.
Do you have a real estate agent represent you on that?
I've talked to I just basically go through the listings and I call everybody independently, like having one person specific.
You want to try getting a real your own commercial real estate agent, because they can communicate for you and they know a lot more than you know, and they can probably help you out with that if it's possible.
Yeah. Or how much do those dealerships really want you to be there? Because wouldn't it be nice to have one in the back of their lots? That'd be really nice.
Yeah. It would. I have one that has an empty showroom that I've been trying to get them to allow us to process cars in. Like they built a new dealership on their property and they have an old store on there still, and they're using the shop space, but there's a 4,000 square foot showroom sitting empty. It's got so it has winter tires. That's what it's full of. And I'm like, I'll pay you good money to rent that. And it's right in Automotive Alley, like it's in and amongst all the dealerships. But so far, to no avail. They have not come to the plate with being open to that. I thought they were at first, but.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, this is what the PDR guys think about. You have one shop in a smaller town doing $300,000 a year now, and a guy that's helping you basically your manager, your CEO of your RFX side, and now you want to open a second location a little bit bigger in a larger city that can at least do 300,000, or maybe I mean, it's not crazy to think that you with two locations in those areas you could have $1 million business where you don't process cars. I mean, that's not crazy to think. It's very realistic, especially with the numbers you gave us. And I mean, that's what and you're fixing nets. And I mean, that's where a lot of guys want to be. That's awesome, dude. It's really cool.
And it would be nice, to be able to fix dents on my own terms for a change, as opposed to just out of pure necessity. There's some stuff I'd love. I don't want to be a dent hero. I am never aspiring to be Bryce Kelly. But there's times where I'm like, that challenge looks really interesting to me. I'd love to tackle it. And I'm like, when would I possibly be able to do that? It just doesn't make sense. Financially, from a business standpoint, cars, I can go make I can do a bunch of cars for wholesale and make way more money than I could even if a top paying job like that, and the time it's going to consume.
100%.
So how are your, it seems like we have a few managers for dealerships listening to this podcast. How do your managers, what has been the response with Restore FX to them?
So when I introduce it to them, they are interested, but the price point definitely gives them some nerves. So obviously There's been a lot of demos. Everybody gets a demo. And many of the typical responses, they'll see, they're like, no, your price point is $500 we charge dealers. Like, I don't have $500 worth of room on these cars. Like, that's crazy. And I go do a car, bring it back to them. And many of them, the typical response is, damn you. Can you do that car next, and that car next, and that car next, and that car next? And like,
well, in reality, they're paying, and I try to like make everybody understand this. They're paying, if half of that, if not a little bit more, to their other vendors, right? The touch-up guy, the guy who's coming in doing trim repair, headlight restoration, all the other bullshit that you can do with one singular Restore FX treatment. That I'm trying to get that instilled into the dealership managers' minds that you're already spending this money, but we're delivering a higher quality product.
Well, I'm not sure if we got frozen there.
No,
Pete brought up a really interesting point. He charges $100 to touch up a car. We include that in a Restore FX application. So that just drove the price of your Restore FX installation down to $375, right? Because you don't have to spend the $125 on your touch up.
Yeah, and then trim, like a trim restoration, that's like another $89 or 100 something bucks. So
yeah, and you get the bumper painter guy to wet sand and buff. And Pete talked about this a little bit too. Like, these 4 spots, and that's $150, $200 right there. And it's like, we're gonna do the entire thing. And I did a demo for another dealer last week that we haven't done anything for yet. And this car was like completely trashed. It was the best demo we've done by far, and it was all fixable stuff. It was fantastic. But I showed him a before and after picture of just like someone scraped a garage maybe or something on the driver rear door and the dog leg of the quarter panel. And I said, how much would you pay to just have that area repainted? Because they would have repainted it. And he's like $300, and I'm like $500 the entire car, not just the one spot, the whole thing.
And it looks whatever your guy is doing on the parking lot, we can make it look way better than that.
Yeah, for sure.
I often tell them too, like if it's something that's questionable as far as Restore FX, like if it's, got paint gouged on the corner of the bumper or something like that. But the whole car looks like, a dog, and there's a spot that I'm not going to be able to get 100%. I'm like, you could spend $300 to paint your bumper. Now you're going to have one shiny bumper, but the rest of the car is going to look terrible. Or we can do Restore FX. We'll touch up those few spots. The whole car is going to show like $1 million, and some customer is going to walk up and maybe overlook that spot, or maybe it's a bone they have to address. But you've got them now where they're like so enamored with that car that one little spot is going to be something you can work around, versus you got one shiny bumper but the rest of the car is horrible, and now it's still unsellable.
I think that's one of the biggest things that I've focused on basically when I'm selling it, is that I'm doing the entire vehicle, doing all painted surfaces of the vehicle are going to look better. And I think most, I guess, managers are so used to just like basically smart repairs or small, like just these couple spots. Like as a dent guy, I'm gonna fix this dent over here and this one dent over here. Touch up guy's gonna do the bumper paint is like just one corner of a bumper, but like we're like whole vehicle, like whole everything, like really the whole all painted surfaces. Yeah. So I focused on that. That seemed to help. That has seemed to help a decent amount, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And we've had getting back to the manager's response as to how they feel about it, is they're a little apprehensive about those type of situations where they're like, well, you're still going to see this little chip. Well, you're going to see it, but with the way the car presents over, the chip is going to be a non-issue.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and they know that when you show the demo. That's the cool part, I think.
Yeah, we just did a demo today for a dealer that we haven't done anything for, and same thing, like he's already got 3 more cars in the queue.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's my question. That was my question for you. Are you doing all the dealers in your area? Obviously you're not.
there's like, we still have some outlying areas that I could conceivably go do demos. Like the majority of our work is probably 7 stores around where we're at. And then there's like a little small community halfway between where Pete is in Windsor and where I am here. There's an auto mall out there, and there's a fair amount of business that comes out of there. But we do have in a couple other directions, there's some smaller stores that I really haven't called on yet, just because logistics more than anything else. Like I have my retired 80-year-old parents run cars for us every day because they love doing it. But
that's awesome.
I can only ask so much of them realistically. Right. My dad's 81 years old, you know, but they go I get a text every morning. Anything for us to do today? Like they love it. My mom chases them down in one of the runner cars that we have, and they go do their thing. Nice. But I don't want to ask them to start going another direction. It's like, I'm going to have to look for another porter soon.
Yeah, that was my question for you. How do you do logistics? That's been that's been the biggest thing. The biggest unexpected thing for me was like, fuck, this is like being a mobile guy. It's like, I'll just go here, boom, boom. But that's like getting cars to your shop is, and we have an auto mall near us that has 8 dealers. 3 of them have like a kind of like a detail shop, body shop, that the same owner owns 3 dealers that owns that place and like won't even talk to me. He's like, we're competition. I'm like, trust me, I will make your life so much easier. Anyways, so that's like 3. So that's like 3 out of the 8 are just like, the guy's like, no. So we have some, but so now we're pulling from a different auto mall, and that one's like almost 30 minutes away. So like logistically, it's a little bit weird. So how many rental cars do you have? You have 1 rental car and your parents just kind of do their thing?
No, I have 3.
Yeah. Okay.
And I actually am a licensed car dealer as well. So I buy and sell cars and things. There's at any given time, there could be 10 cars kind of floating around that we can use if we need to. But I have like my 3 that I keep that are just good little runners.
Gotcha.
And it's not crazy. That's a good. I was doing this because the logistics for me has always been a nightmare. I was hiring porters, and then you started looking at the numbers, and you're paying this guy, thousands of dollars per month when you can just get a couple loaner cars, or like what you said, a little shit box, and just send them down the road with that, and you're saving a lot of money, doing that.
Yeah. Ryan
we do
Campbell,
a lot of our. I was gonna say like my guys will shuttle cars too. My parents do a majority of it, and then like my location that I have that we process cars at today, is like if you had a good arm, you could throw a ball to Chrysler, Toyota, Lincoln, Honda. Like it's right where all the dealerships are. Yeah. So that's nice. They walk a lot of times to get the cars and pick them up and do that. So.
That's huge. Yeah. Ryan Campbell, who I interviewed on the podcast, like episode number, like, I don't even know, 12 or something like that. And he was the ex-body guy, started PDR, has a shop, super good dude. Do you know him, Burr? Do you have heard of Ryan Campbell?
I think me and Jeremy Carroll were just talking about him. Did you buy a Restore FX?
Yeah, he just got Restore FX.
I
think he went to training like last month.
He's trying to treat it like paint and body.
Well, I mean, I don't know. He was a paint guy, so I think that you can run stuff through a lens of it. But anyways, my point is he had an old Focus that he bought, like a red Focus, and he actually put a tape line down the center of the entire thing and Restore FX one side of it, and then not the other side. Like literally, split the hood, split the roof, split the trunk, bumper, everything like halfway.
It's a free demo,
which I thought was a pretty cool idea. And he sent me a video. I was like, "This is fucking cool."
Yeah. We did that.
I did a demo. You guys did that too, yeah?
Yeah, I was about to say. I felt like somebody else I know did that. You had to do that, right?
We did that, but I can tell you that a critical error that I made was we didn't take the tape off, and I don't know if you guys know or have ever watched what masking tape does if you leave it out in the rain, and it was a dog's breakfast, man. The car ended up going to the junkyard because it just looked horrible after a while. And
oh my gosh.
In saying that, like I'm going to sponsor a pretty big event in my town in May. It's called Ribs and Wheels. It's a massive car show and a rib fest. And I'm really considering having a car for that and putting it at my display. If I can, I mean, it shouldn't be difficult to find something that would be a suitable candidate. But.
Yeah, I mean, I did a demo too in my shop. I did a NorCal Tech meetup. We had a bunch of dent guys, like 60 people showing up. But I did a Restore FX demo at that, and I put a tape line down the middle of the hood, and I sanded, car prepped I did the whole side, and I still have pictures of it. But there's like big scratches going through the hood that like that go into it and just literally disappear. It's pretty like right crazy. At the line. It's like scratch gone. I'm like, fuck, that's great. I mean, under light because of your dent guy, where you can see like where the little groove was, you know, like if you catch the right light, you're like, okay, it's no, the clear coat's like definitely like there's a slight, I mean, we're talking millimeters, or I don't even know, nanometers, fuck if I know, microns, there you go. But anyways, you still look at it, it's like scratch all the way down, gone. So I thought it would be cool to do that half demo, but yeah, take the masking tape off. I guess you'd have to redo it every once in a while, or you know, keep it nice. But
yeah.
Well, can I ask you guys?
Restore FX have too. What's up?
You ever get deceived? Like I've had certain situations where I'm out looking at a potential Restore FX car, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh yeah, we'll bury that. That'll go, no problem. We're gonna definitely have that's gonna hide. It'll be perfect, and we do it, and you can like it's still sometimes prevalent. Like I feel like sometimes I don't know what the limits are or aren't, because then I'll look at something else and I'll be like, I don't know, it's iffy. We can try it, and it'll bury it. It's gone. Like,
I know
it's still elusive.
So many factors, I guess, in the how thick you put the Restore FX on. Sometimes even I feel like, or how much you're sanding it, or what manufacturer.
It's definitely sanding. Like I come from a body shop background. So I'm super comfortable with sanding on a vehicle, and I'll go in the back sometimes and I'll see my guys have vehicles prepped, and I'm like looking at scratches underneath what they sanded, and I'm like, I know it's going to shrink back down once the Restore FX cures in the morning, because we've seen it. And I'm like, I'll go back in there and show them how to sand it just a little bit more. But it's still that iffy line. You don't even want to teach guys that, because they'll start burning through cars and shit.
Yeah,
you know?
that's the nerve. Yeah, you'd rather have it look 90% than people sanding through.
Because you could always put another layer on there, man. Just bake that stuff and then throw another layer on that panel, and you'll see that stuff go away for sure.
Yeah,
but it goes back to what you said a little while ago, Ryan. Like what we see inside under our lighting is not perceivable outside to the layperson, especially for the overall, going back to that, like the overall car. Like we've taken cars that people would today, you'd look at them and a customer would say that car it's like somebody just abused that car its entire existence. We get done with it, and you could flip somebody to the complete opposite, and they'd be like, somebody loved this car. It was nothing but taken care of. Look at it.
They garage the entire time.
I got one sitting outside right now. We restored FX to a 2002 F-150 a year and a half ago, and the guy brought it back just so we could do some touch-up work on replacing some plastics and stuff that kind of deteriorated. And I drove it to the dealership the other day to go walk a lot. And all like the manager came, they didn't see me get out the truck, but I saw them standing around this truck, and they were like, "Man, is this a customer? Like, we want to get this car traded in because we know we can sell the shit out of it." They were like, "Dude, this is the cleanest 02 F-150 I've fucking ever seen," you know. And I was like, "Yeah, we restored FX that a year and a half ago." It looks awesome, dude. It's crazy how good it looks.
I did Restore FX on my truck. I bought it 3 years ago, and it was a white truck, and I just like ran it through the car wash. It's a pre-Restore FX, and I knew I wasn't supposed to, whatever, but like it was definitely, it's white, but it was like it's swirled up, and there's shit all over it. I have a guy do Restore FX, and I'm like, every time I look at it, I'm like, damn, that's crazy, dude. Even on white too, though. Even on white, it's like we don't do a lot of white cars. Obviously, we're doing darker cars for reflection, but I'm like, God, even on white, dude, it's freaking.
But you catch white in the right light at, like when it's been like really messed up, it's super scratched. Like you can see it, but when you see Restore FX on a white car and it hits the sunlight, you're like, damn, man, that shit looks it's
wild. Yeah, for sure.
I am always surprised when we do a white car too. Like it's like why don't I look at white cars more closely? I kind of just pass by most of the whites. Like
same, dude. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I do. Like Mitchell, when he goes, like if I'm on vacation, Mitchell will go out and find cars, and I bet you he processes more white cars while I'm gone. If we're going next week to Mexico, and he'll find cars, and I'll bet you he'll find white ones. Like he always seems to be able to. I don't look at them.
Yeah, you're just like, it's not bad. Look at this black one though. This red one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff, dude. Well, that's what's up. I feel like that was a full, like, for a PDR guy, which is the majority of listeners. That's there you have it. An example number, fucking however many we've done. 10.
How much more do you need?
Yeah, I mean, example number 10 or 12 of like, it works. There's three of us right here talking about in different stages of success with Restore FX, and I mean, this stuff works and it's growing for sure. The entire industry that they've created, I would say, and Restore FX themselves. Pretty fun to be a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just say too, like, if anybody's curious about my journey, I'm an open book. Like, feel free to reach out. And I know you guys are available to everybody too. But like, I have no problem to tell everybody or anybody about the journey that it was, because it wasn't just like roses and butterflies. There was definitely some times where I was like, why did I ever get involved? This is ridiculous. What an idiot I am. But those days are behind, and it's like, there's growing pains that you'll never forget. That's for sure.
Yep. I think we've all had them.
Yes, absolutely. Real quick, I asked last time, and I want to ask this time. What do you think about the future of, like, in this industry of like paintless clear coat repair? Like, how do you see it going in like 10 years from now or something?
Somebody said to me once that seemed to make a lot of sense, is like they're always looking for alternative ways to make different types of materials. So sometimes you get a little bit curious about the direction of paintless dent repair. But one thing that seems to hold true is everybody likes a shiny car. So maybe there's going to be different itinerations of what Restore FX chemical properties are, but I feel like as long as they can keep up with the paint technology, it seems like there's going to be a longer lifespan for this if you had to like analyze it down to the core than paintless dent repair. Maybe that's a bold statement, I don't know, but it definitely, I don't see people like ever going away from wanting their cars to be shiny and nice.
Right.
It's a damn good point.
They might be flying around, but we're still going to be restoring them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. They'll still be shiny in the sky, right? I mean, honestly, like, there's sometimes I'm looking. I talked to a manager a couple times, and I'm like, honestly, it's probably more worthwhile to spend $500 to Restore FX the car than for me to fix that dent for you for $400.
I do it all the time. I say it all the time.
Sorry, like, it's the truth, So I mean, I'll try to do both, but
I was just gonna say I'd always go for both.
Oh, I know, I always do, but if like, I don't know, I'm like, dude, do the Restore FX over the dent.
Make sure you do the Restore FX first, because when they get it back, they're gonna be like, damn, man, I should have just told you to fix
then
it
the dent
anyway.
shows. Yeah, then the dent really shows.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep.
All right, guys.
And then all of a sudden, they have that extra $1,000 to put in the car that they told you they didn't have before.
I know. It's so funny, dude. Yeah.
And they're always so honest. Like, who would ever not tell you the truth about what they have?
Yeah, I know, right? How much money's in it? Yeah. Let me look on the computer. Barry. I'm telling you. I'm like, do you know how to buy cars right? Like, what this sounds like a you issue, dude. Every car you're buried in, how do you make money? How do you have a job?
Right.
Yep. That's what I feel like. I'm like, gosh darn it, man. Yeah. All right, guys. That was fun. That was a fun one.
It was good.
I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks for coming on, Dave.
Thanks for having me, guys. Dave, I appreciate it very much.
Yeah. Till the next one.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good night, guys. Thanks.